What's up guys, welcome. It's a new day and we've got some new tea from X. This is a thread from someone named Alice and she's talking about how she got replaced with AI by a friend. Now there's a little bit more to this story than what it seems, and I think there's something that we can actually learn from this despite the unfortunate circumstances that Alice is facing. So let's jump in, let's see what's going on here, and I want you guys to make up your own minds about this whole situation. In 2016, I met a movie director and screenwriter who asked me to make my first ever short animated movie. I was younger and excited, so even if no payment was included, I did it. We worked for more than 6 months. She was the writer and director, and I made all the drawings, and our work got some prizes, plus it went on national television. It was a good collaboration. Now at this point, if you guys are on the same mental wavelength as me, you're probably also seeing the massive red flags here. This is the most tropey formula you've ever seen, okay? Young and excited artist, plus opportunity with no pay. A match made in heaven. We kept in touch, and in 2019, she proposed that I draw a graphic novel she wrote. I made the whole storyboard, more than 80 colored pages, and some finished pages too. Our goal was to find a publisher. Nothing was paid to me, but I knew the project had good potential, and after all, I was just at the beginning of my career. Listen, if reading this right now doesn't raise all the red flags in the world to you, respectfully, you gotta wake up, okay? Because you're asleep. You're asleep like your legs after you've sat on the toilet pooping for 2 hours. You dirty dog, you foolish. I myself went to meet a publisher in my city, but they weren't interested due to copyright issues they feared to face. So our project went through a hiatus. Now, I've got a couple of questions. Well, first of all, isn't this supposed to be the other person's project? Shouldn't they be the one looking for a publisher to get this thing made? And also, if she was so established in this industry, how did she not know about these potential copyright issues ahead of time when she was thinking of this story? But of course, it's just a hiatus. It doesn't end there. I kept in touch with the writer, and she even asked me to exhibit the few pages at a public event in Rome. The few pages, referring to like the 80-something pages that she drew. We were just waiting for its time to come. Oh, how optimistic. Time passed, and we occasionally heard each other talking about that old project. For 1 year, we went quiet, until a few days ago I looked at the storyboard I made and remembered how much potential it had. Since our collaboration started almost 10 years ago, I've certainly improved. This is my job now, so I thought, why don't we just make it? This could become a web series, a webtoon. I felt ready to give her my support and keep working on it together, letting her know there are many ways to publish a graphic novel today. Now, Alice, brother. You are way too nice. Look, I'm not gonna blame Alice because Alice, in my opinion, is the victim. But it's just absolutely painful to me to see somebody who's so kind-hearted and naive just get taken advantage of here. Until she answered me back, and this is where it all goes to shit. So sorry, Alice. Many years have passed, so I made it by myself using AI. It's now totally done. It's incredible how good it turned out. I'm about to animate the drawings and make a video out of them. AI isn't even that easy to use. Oh, God, just rubbing salt in the wound here. That is, oh my, you have to work a lot on it, but I made it. Kisses. I'm like, how tone deaf. God, I want to rip my eyes out, man. So Alice seems to have went through some of the stages of grief here. First delusion, then just rage. She says all those years, all my dedication, my drawings, my passion, my time, my hard work, all thrown away to be replaced by AI. And you know what, as an artist, it's impossible for me to not sympathize with this because I get it. Even though it's like a quote-unquote collaborative project, it's your baby, it's something you worked on for so long. It's something that you cared about. So Alice then replied, I'm sorry to know about this. I wanted to keep working on it. I made the whole storyboard. You could at least tell me what you wanted to do, asking if I was still interested. After all, I wasn't going to work on it without your permission. Again, Alice, she replied again, but I was no longer interested in her. She said, well, you're right, but so much time has passed. I didn't want to wait any longer. We could still do something together next year, blah, 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 blah. Mad and disappointed, what I've now left is just my hand-drawn storyboard and some finished pages of a story I've been cut off from without even knowing. Now, oh boy, that's pain. That's painful. 20-year-old me didn't deserve this treatment. No artist does, and I can agree with that. But I won't waste all that time and work. I will in some way give another life to those drawings. I owe it to myself. I have no idea if my friend used my drawings to make her AI stuff. Now, that would just be the absolute cherry on top. Insult to injury if she actually did, because holy shit. And since I don't know what's going to happen, I will be posting my drawings just to make clear that they were made before the AI stuff she wants to make a video of. So yes, that's it. A do not give your time and drawings away lesson? I don't know. I was young and needed to find a starting point, and honestly I trusted that person to the point where a few days ago I was going to give her my experience and time. again. Well, Alice, I think the silver lining here is that it didn't actually work out and you didn't end up giving this person more of your time. Now, not even talking about the topic of AI here, I think one of the biggest red flags was in 2016, she was approached by this director person for work and there was no mention of compensation. And another insane part in this very first slide is we worked for more than 6 months. Bro, what the, that's a crazy amount of time. That's a relationship. That's probably longer than most people's relationships. Damn. And then here it is again in 2019. She proposed that I draw a graphic novel she wrote. Look, here's something else that you gotta know. Where's the contract for this? If you're doing freelance as an artist, this is so important. You gotta know, okay, what part of this is your intellectual property after I make it? Like, am I allowed to keep any of my art, and what's the rate of compensation for this project? How long is this project gonna be? So these are two massive red flags that just tell me this person that you're working for is not reliable. They're so red. They're bright red. They're like Jordan Peterson on that one show that he was on recently. Just red. Now, I think in recent years, there's been more and more awareness amongst artists about this type of behavior. Granted, this did happen back in 2016 and 2019. I wasn't even the thing back then. I was a fetus and I wasn't out here spreading the word of, the things to look out for when you're working for clients. So Alice, I take partial responsibility for this, but no more, okay? No more of this. Look, if you're a young artist and you're just out there, you're just doing some commissions here and there, be very careful of this stuff, okay? And know your worth. I'm not saying that every single drawing, every single project has to net you money. Obviously, there are going to be times where you work on things just because you love that thing, you believe that thing. But if someone ever approaches you about a project, they propose that project to you, they should also be giving you a contract. And if they're a good, honest fellow human being, they should be offering you some sort of compensation, okay, for your time and for your effort. And hey, if they're not offering any of that, I'm not saying you can't take that project. I understand when you're a younger artist, you just want to do anything to get started. You absolutely could take that project, but be very careful around that person and be very aware of what they're doing to you. Set your own boundaries. If you don't set your boundaries, someone's gonna walk all over you. Dan says, tragic use of AI. AI was supposed to take all our mundane jobs, but it's taking all the creative ones. But here's a really good rebuttal against this. And somebody said, so F whoever has that mundane job, right? They're just replaceable, unlike those superior artists. Now, understand that, the argument that art is something that humans love to make and it's something that shouldn't be replaced, but, answering emails and stuff should be replaced, can kind of come off this way, like, hey, you're saying just screw everyone with the average job. So maybe that's something we should all be a little bit more aware of as artists, because I don't think we're on opposite sides of this spectrum here. The way they're doing it right now, AI is coming for everyone's jobs, okay? We just so happen to be one of the first people to be affected by it, but currently in the beautiful year of 2025, it's looking like everyone's gonna lose their job. So here's my, genuine question to all the bros pushing for AI and the replacement and the displacement of people and their jobs. What the hell is even the end goal here, okay? You want to replace creatives, you want to replace the mundane jobs, you want to replace coders, you want to replace engineers, you want to replace truck drivers, pilots. What's left? It makes me wonder what the hell is the goal. Like, are these billion-dollar corporations and these billionaires just going to keep accumulating wealth off of the backs of these AI programs? Because they are. I've just recently heard about Las Vegas hotels cutting their concierges down so that you have virtual agents. Guess who's saving the money? All the ownership, shareholders, everybody who's already filthy rich. And you might think, well, you know what? If it's cheaper for these people to run all their operations, maybe the savings will get passed down to us. Hell no, brother. That is not how they operate. It's all about profit. It's all about giving away as little money as possible to the average person and retaining as much wealth as possible for that like 0.001%. And AI generated art is unfortunately just another slimy tentacle of that disgusting dystopian future we're heading towards. So I'm just confused, when eventually everybody's job gets taken in some way, and nobody has money anymore, everyone's homeless, what are these corporations going to do? Who are you going to sell this product to? The sad truth I've come to realize is most normies don't care about the artist's effort. They just want an image, AI or not. Now, I partially agree with this, but there's a big part of me that disagrees with this statement because we've seen tons of pushback from the quote-unquote normies about, AI-generated content. A big part of what makes art so special to us is specifically the effort and skill that it takes to make it. And lots of people out there, even people who don't partake in art, can appreciate that. But unfortunately, this does ring true when, you know, money and profit is involved. People just don't want to pay money to artists. Ava said saying it's hard to use is like spitting in your face. It's hard to actually make art. How about that? Honestly, my kid refuses AI, and after hearing their argument against it, I've chosen to deal with it in the same way I deal with fake designer goods. Don't get involved. I'm definitely much more careful if I'm looking to buy art online now. And you know what? I feel like that's a really good analogy. If you're buying real art, it's obviously going to come at a bit of a premium because of all the human time and effort that goes into it. So at this point, I do feel like AI slop starts to resemble mass manufactured copied versions of the original content. It lacks that feeling of awe and inspiration. Someone said, when I read the part, even without payment, I was sure you were falling into a trap. Being realistic, you, in her point of view, was not much different from an AI. A cheap and convenient found of drawings. Get better. I think English is not this person's first language, but I think they are trying to support this artist here. So you accepted a volunteer job. It was clearly a scam. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. So you know what? Like, absolutely, I can agree with these people, but again, I'm not trying to shift any of the blame onto Alice, because I think Alice was, like any other young artist would be, quite naive and kind-hearted in a way that she just projects that onto other people that she meets too, even though they only see her as a tool that they could step all over. So I don't really know what to think of this, but really the most valuable lesson here for me is that, you know, especially as a young artist, as somebody who's easy to take advantage of, you have to be very careful with the people you surround yourself with. You have to be very careful with the people you're friends with. You're always going to get these, you know, quote unquote opportunities from people who are in higher places. But the moment they show hesitancy when it comes to compensating you fairly or just establishing clear boundaries in a contract, you got to take a mother step back, reassess that whole situation, because unfortunately the person you're dealing with doesn't see you as a person. If there's not even that basic respect for your time and your energy, they only see you as a means to an end. That is not your friend. That's just a human being. Anyways, guys, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. If you agree or disagree with the things that I said in this video, please let me know in the comments. Please fight me in the comments. Tell me if you guys have been through similar situations with people in the past. Share your story so that other artists can read your comments and learn from your experiences as well. Because at the end of the day, that's all I care about, okay? I'm here as an artist to try to help you guys as artists, okay? So let's all help each other out. Let's build up this community. Let's all look out for each other, and let's try to have each other's best interests at heart, because damn, the world is tough out there, man.